December 13th.
Welcome home, Susie Sugar.
Are you still mad at him for standing you up at the Christmas dance in high school?
No!
Whatever you say.
We really need you on the Gingerlicious team. We had a lot of fun together. I'm really glad you came home for Christmas.
Me too.
Jacky Lai, Tony Giroux, and Tai Ma.
If I'm gonna play, I'm playing to win.
A Sugar and Spice holiday premieres December 13th at 8. Part of It's a Wonderful Lifetime. 24/7 holiday movies all season long.
All right. Hey, guys, it's Jim Halterman from TV Guide Magazine. Thanks for sticking around for the third panel in our panel extravaganza. This time we're talking about A Sugar and Spice holiday, which I've already gotten a sneak peek. It's wonderful. It's charming. You guys are going to love it. And so I have with us the stars of the movie, Jacky Lai and Tony Giroux. Hi, guys.
What's up?
Welcome. First of all, I'm just loving that all these Lifetime movies are really celebrating people we don't always see in the lead roles of movies. You see them, but they're not always front and center. Tell me what that means to both of you. Jacky, I'll start with you because it's just, I loved it. But talk about that a little bit from your perspective.
Well, I think to me it was a really big deal to have the opportunity, to be in a movie like this. I think what this represents, at least for me, I feel like, is that change is happening. I think for a long time we've been fighting for it, asking for it, and now this is evidence that the industry is opening up, and hopefully more so because of Lifetime. And so to me, yeah, it's a really big honor and a really big deal.
Yeah, Tony, how about for you?
I mean, along with what Jacky said, I agree. It's such an honor to be part of a film that is really supporting change, and to know that I'm getting a chance to hopefully offer something to like people who are younger, or myself when I was younger. I didn't have access to that. Seeing kind of myself or Asian representation in the media. And so to have that, is really humbling and exciting, really, really exciting.
Yeah, I know the Coalition of Asian Pacifics in Entertainment, they were involved in the film, which is great. I know Glad was involved in the last film we talked about. But, tell me, if you'd seen this movie when you were a kid or just in your formative years, what would you have thought? Because, it's great that they're coming around now, but I know I could have used them, when I was growing up. But what would you both say to that? Jacky, let's start with you.
Honestly, like for me, when I first watched Crazy Rich Asians, it was a feeling that I didn't expect. I got so emotional. And I think, when I was growing up, I lived in a small town. I was the only Vietnamese student. And I remember feeling like I needed to look more Caucasian to be seen as attractive. I remember I put on green contacts. I dyed my hair blonde. So I think for me, if I had seen that at a younger age, I think it would really help me accept myself. It would have taken a lot less time, I think, to really appreciate, my culture and the way that I look. And, yeah.
Tony, how about you? You talked to this a little bit before, but what would you have thought?
Yeah, and I think it really revolves around identity, and I think the idea of being able to see yourself or your culture in the media is huge. I think it makes you feel like you belong, and it makes you feel seen, because the lack of it, it makes you feel like you have to identify with things that aren't necessarily yours, that you don't see at home, or that your grandparents don't talk about. And so then it becomes about this, trying to fit into a scene that that you love, but yet you still feel a little bit of an outsider. So I think bringing a film like this really brings all of us together.
Okay. Besides the romantic element of it and just being the holidays, I like that the movie has food very much at the heart, whether it's the dinners or the baked goods, all those things. How did you guys not just eat everything in sight? Was it hard for either of you?
There was someone there spotting our hands as we tried. That's why.
Yeah, they were like, "This is a hot set. Do not touch this." And, oh my God, that was the days of the competition, the baking competition. We had kids who part of it, and they would just stare at the table, and you could see them salivating. They're like, no.
waiting for the bigger pieces, like fighting because they were brother and sisters, and we could hear them fighting for it. It was so fun.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, I personally did get, there is a scene where I eat tofu, and for that scene, we got to shoot it a lot of times, so I think that was my meal of the day. You know, we kept redoing it, and my stomach was very satisfied with a lot of tofu.
This was the spicy tofu, right? Or it was supposed to be spicy?
Stinky.
Sticky. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, I think during that time it was COVID, so we were told to be very conscientious of, you know, what's being touched and, you know, not to go there. And I think that's why I really do help.
Yeah. But I love that's a big part of the movie is just and this is a lot of the holiday movies, just family and the traditions in families. And I love that that's a big part of this because you see Susie's family and about the dinners and the food and all that sort of stuff. I just love that about the movie. I don't have a question there. I want to talk about food.
Everyone should have their snacks ready watching this, you know, it makes you...
Well, talk about your characters a little bit. Jacky, talk about Susie and who she is at the start of the movie, and then what her journey is without spoiling too much of the plot.
Oh my God, I'm terrible at spoilers. Okay, Susie is a very passionate, driven architect. She loves her job, family, has a really close relationship with her grandmother, who taught her a lot of life philosophy through baking. But she, you know, stopped baking when her grandmother passed. And throughout the movie, you see her find her way back to that joy and that passion through the baking competition that Tony's character rallies her into. And by the end of it, I think she realizes what constitutes a happy life, you know, a good life, as opposed to what she had initially thought. Yeah.
Okay. And Tony, talk about Billy a little bit, because they do, these characters have a history as well. They don't meet for the first time in this movie, correct?
Yeah, so they were high school classmates, and there was a bit of ambiguity at that time. And so that's, you know, that's a really fun relationship to play, the idea of someone that you knew and that you're getting to discover them. But for Billy specifically, you know, he's on the surface, I think he's very carefree, very playful. He's gotten to a time in his life that I think he cares a little less about what people think, but deep down, you know, he's going through a lot. I think he's, you know, he's just left Silicon Valley, where he worked for 8 years, and he realized he wasn't happy, and his father's sick, and he's moved home, I think, for just finding, you know, a real sense of identity, and I think he's in touch with his heart for the first time. And I think that's where, you know, then seeing an old classmate is a great opportunity to express yourself authentically, maybe for the first time.
Do you think your characters can teach the others something they maybe need to know about life, or just love, or any of those things? Yeah.
I think we were a great puzzle piece, or like a yin and yang that came together.
Which hopefully, you know, when I think of unions of two people, you know, I think Susie and Billy really represent that beautifully. The idea of, you know, different qualities coming together, as opposed to sometimes always finding people, you know, that we match with in a way that are quite similar. I think they're quite opposite, and it makes a beautiful union.
Okay, so of the two of you, who's better in the kitchen? Not your character, yourself. Who's better in the kitchen?
Tony, 100%. I would not bet on myself in the kitchen.
Tony, is she right?
Well, I've never tasted any of Jacky's cooking, but I cook pretty often. I cook pretty often, and I did bake a little bit to lead into this film. I wanted to, you know, get my hands on some dough and get comfortable with it. But I'd say I'm pretty good cook, yeah.
Okay, Jacky, did the movie make you maybe want to spend more time in the kitchen, or?
Oh, you know what? I just bought HelloFresh, where they send the groceries and give you the ingredients that's coming this weekend. So we'll see how
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, but you know what? Baking is such a science. So much respect to people who love baking. I think I'm just not a good rule follower, and I'll try to improvise, and that's just, you can't do that with baking. So, I probably shouldn't.
Okay. One of the things I think is so cute about the movie is the fact that Susie kind of categorizes people by different desserts, and it kind of tells you who that person is. So of course, I'm going to ask which baked good would you be? So Jacky, who would you be? And Tony, what would you be as far as a baked good? What would describe you well?
Can we do each other? I feel like it's a little.
Let's go with that. So Jacky, what would Tony be as far as a baked good?
I'm really proud of this one. I came up with it yesterday. An almond croissant, because because you know how the croissant has some hard edges, and I think that kind of represents Tony. Like, he has some very defined characters, and then the soft part of the croissant represents his sensitivity. And I say like the almond croissant because inside with the almond paste, it's really sweet, but it has a little bit of texture. And so I find Tony's super sweet, and he's very creative. And so in that way, a little bit encouraging.
Okay, ego boost. Let's go. Thank you for that.
I love it. Tony, how would you do the same for Jacky?
Okay. I would describe Jacky as one of those Top Chef cakes, on the competition level. Because, on the outside, they always look mesmerizing. I mean, look at that top. You're wearing, Jacky, let's go. No, but I mean, that's just one layer of it. And then you start cutting into it and you see, all the layers to it. And Jacky, she's extremely hardworking, talented, really open and generous. And then you taste the cake and there's another, layer to the whole experience. And then with Jacky now, I've been lucky to experience her really soft side, like her heart that is just so pure and just, really lets you in. And I think there's, it's a really, cozy feeling, like when you finally take a bite of that cake.
Okay, that's good. That's very sweet. We're all blushing here a little bit, I think. I'm not, but you guys are. I'm getting the sense that despite shooting this during the pandemic, that there's probably some fun to be had on set. You guys seem like you're having a lot of fun just doing this, but what was the atmosphere like on set outside of having to wear masks and sticking to all the rules? But did you have the time to have fun or maybe play pranks on each other?
Hated Jacky, so that was a horrible time. I just had to bear with her. When they say action, I put on a smile, but aside from that,
fake it till you make it, right?
Can't stand her.
Tony was a big customer on set. He made everyone laugh, and if he couldn't make you laugh day one, by the end of it, he found his way through. I remember this one joke, and I feel like I really. When we were about to film, he comes close to me, and this is one of many. But for some reason, I remember this.
I'm trying to.
Are you garbage? What? I want to take you out. And there's so many of them.
Dad jokes.
Tell me, I know it's really hard for you guys to create chemistry because it's either there or it's not, but your characters have a really nice spark with each other. How much pressure do you put on yourself to make sure that's there? Because in some ways it's either there or it's not, but it's also your job, I guess, to do it. But was it, how do you deal with that as actors?
Mm-hmm. I mean, our job, I think, as actors is to be, very open-minded and to be always being open to collaborate. And I mean, Jacky and I actually were lucky that we're actually with the same agency, and so we got to chat a little bit beforehand. And it was in terms of creating the chemistry. It's always the first day on set. It's always you're trying to figure each other out. You're kind of like two wild animals entering the ring, and you're figuring each other out. But you're being open at the same time. You're always a little guarded. But it seemed like with Jacky, at least in my experience, we were able to break down these barriers quite quick, and be able to joke around and tease each other, and also get really real, which is sometimes rare in this industry. So it was a great experience in that sense.
Jacky, what would you say to that?
Yeah, totally. Like you said, I don't know if you could. I feel like maybe with like the music and the editing, you can kind of fake chemistry, but it's really hard. I think and I just really appreciated Tony's openness, and he was so easy to talk to, and I think that was a really great way to start, so I can express anything that I was feeling, and I felt really accepted, and that was the beginning of our working relationship. And it just made the whole ride wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. I know you guys shot this. One, you're shooting in the middle of a pandemic, which is one thing, but you also have to kind of get in the Christmas spirit because you have to be in that. So outside of the set being very Christmassy, did you do anything for yourselves just to get in the spirit, whether it's play music or grab some of those Christmas cookies? What did you guys do to kind of get yourself in the mood?
I watched Love Actually like 3 times before starting the set. And I started watching a lot of rom-coms, and Love Actually is one of my favorites. And I was like every evening I'd get that warm feeling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm making a film that's that is about love and Christmas and joy and coming together. So that kind of was a way for me to cheat my way in.
Cool. Jacky, did you have anything?
Yeah, I think I would say the same. I watched a lot of rom-coms and a lot of other than that, we got most of our holiday fields on set.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do a round of this or that. I'll name 2 things. You just tell me which one you prefer or which one you like better, and we can argue. It can get heated. We'll go with where it goes.
Wait, so do we answer at the same time, or one at a time?
One at a time, and then we can discuss if it bears discussion.
Okay.
So I mean, you guys may have already answered this one, but Home Alone or Love Actually?
They're like my 2 favorites. I'd say Love Actually. I'd say Love Actually.
Okay. Jacky, same for you?
Same for me.
Yeah. Okay. Clear lights or colored lights on the tree decorations? Do you like the clear lights or colored?
Colored.
I don't know. I like the clear lights. I feel like it's very classic and it reminds me of stars.
Yep. I have white lights on my Christmas tree, Jacky, so I'm with you.
Yeah, me too. I have it hanging around my house.
Whatever.
I like the
boring.
Okay. Ugly sweater or dressing fancy?
Is there sweats option?
This year there needs to be, right?
Ugly sweater.
Yeah. Okay.
Comfort. So when you eat all the food, there's
right.
no shame.
We're gonna get to Q&A in just a second. Do you prefer Christmas snow or a tropical Christmas?
Christmas snow.
I'd have to say Christmas snow as well. Even though I've spent a couple times having a tropical Christmas, and it's an experience.
Yeah. White elephant or Secret Santa?
What's white elephant?
So white elephant is you get a group of people together, and somebody opens. Hopefully, I'll explain this right. Somebody opens a gift, and the next person can either steal that gift.
Oh yeah, Steal Santa. That's the best.
Yeah, there's different names for it, but there's white elephant, there's Steal Santa, or Secret Santa, where people are secretly buying gifts for each other.
White elephant.
100%.
More interesting.
100%.
I love stealing gifts from my dad.
Okay. Eggnog or hot chocolate?
Hot chocolate.
Okay. Marshmallows or no marshmallows?
Marshmallows.
No
All the
marshmallows.
No marshmallows.
No marshmallows.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Let's jump to Q&A because people are asking me questions. So we'll use up the rest of the time with that. For both of you, talk about a scene that was especially fun for you to do in this movie. Was there one that stands out?
I had a really lovely scene with Ty Ma, who plays my dad. And I remember how it made me feel just to have that moment with him. And then when we were done filming, we had some people on set come up to us and say how lovely it made them feel. So it wasn't just me. And it makes me excited for when the audience watches it. And I hope that it gives them that same feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this. Oh, sorry, Jim.
No, that's all. I was just saying I love that scene in the movie. Yeah.
I got to hear Jacky sing.
Oh my!
I need to read it up.
But I mean, shooting that whole scene was really neat. I mean, without spoiling too much, I got to see. I think seeing anybody sing is really vulnerable, and Jacky was amazing. But also, what Billy says to reassure her, he talks about a message of, well, no one cares, and you don't have to be perfect, and I think it's a lesson that I definitely need to remind myself with, and that I think is a really beautiful message. This idea of not having to seek perfection and just doing things just for the heck of it, for fun.
Yeah, that's great. All right, next question. What were your first reactions reading the script about an Asian American family? And do you think the film goes far enough in representing Asian Americans?
I think, what we were trying to do too was not make an Asian film. I think we wanted to also honor the generation that is, a bit westernized as well, So I feel like when I first read the script, I loved it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was witty. I felt like I knew some of these characters in real life, and I was really, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same for me. I got so excited to be reading, scenes that have colors of your culture. Things that my grandma taught me, or the way my grandmother is, the way my mom is. The way that some of the interactions, some of the little jokes, and I think it was a really beautiful balance, like Jacky said, of showing Asian American culture. I think I personally, my grandparents immigrated to the West Coast in the 50s, and so I catch myself to be in this interesting mix, of where I really relate to the culture, but I'm also, relate a lot to being Canadian, and I thought that this movie brings it all together really well, and without having to justify any aspect of it. It's a very normal film with a lot of undertones of Asian culture.
Yeah, I mean, now that I've talked to the cast of these three movies, it's been kind of the same message, is that we didn't have a gay film, an Asian film, and a film with somebody who's in a wheelchair. It's just, these are holiday films that just have some different casting choices and character choices. It's really beautiful, so hats off to you guys for that. Next question. Are there any specific holiday dishes you or your family like to make every season? Anything stand out that's just got to be on the table?
What's so funny is my dad, and it's so random, but he makes a lobster stuffed tenderloin with Renee sauce that he makes from scratch. And he made that for the past, 5-6 years. Now it just happened one day. Obviously, it's mixed with spring rolls and noodles, so that's just one dish that we have every year, and it's delicious.
Wow. I'm coming to your house next year, Jacky. When the pandemic's over, I'm coming.
Yeah, we all are.
Tell me how about you at your house?
I think I can't do a Christmas without my mom's chocolate chip cookies. Like, it is so good, and when they come out of the oven, can't wait.
Yeah, they're
I
good
just
for
thought of
Halloween, aren't they? Okay, so last question. I think we're about out of time. if the film had a sequel, what would you like to see be kind of the next step for these characters? Whether it's a holiday movie, it could be a not holiday movie, but what would you like to see?
Maybe we can film in. Oh wait, I think that's a spoiler. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Man, Tony, do you have something? I think
it'd be hilarious to see them as parents. Like with their dynamic, that is like where they tease each other a lot. I think putting a child in the middle would be like really funny and really entertaining. A lot of blaming, a lot of pointing fingers, you know?
that's so true. Like Lillian and Ty's grandparents.
Okay, well let's hope we do see these characters again, because I loved everybody in the movie. The family was so great, and congratulations, you guys, on this. And for all of you that are watching, set your DVRs and make sure you're home to watch A Sugar and Spice Holiday. It premieres on Sunday, December 13th at 8 p.m. on Lifetime. Thank you, Jacky and Tony. Thank you so much. It was so much fun talking to you guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.